And Dean is a research scientist at Nokia Research Center in Palo Alto and a PhD student in the Department of Communication at Stanford. He studies and creates mobile interactions, persuasive technology, and social services. A current focus is how mobile phones can be used to change people's attitudes and behaviors. Within this area called mobile persuasion, his work is focused on mobile media sharing, self-disclosure via mobile phones, participation in online communities, and mobile augmented reality. Dean is co-editor of Mobile Persuasion, 20 Perspectives on the Future of Behavior Change, and Dean received his MS in Symbolic Systems from Stanford University. Come on up.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about changing minds and transforming behavior with mobile phones. So the big picture here is that interactive technologies can be used to persuade. And one of the things that's really amazing about interactive technologies is that they're so plastic. And so they can actually take on really substantially different roles in our lives. And through each of those roles have unique ways of changing our attitudes and behaviors. Their familiar role as tools is one in which interactive technologies can help to make something easier. So by increasing our ability to complete some kind of a behavior, it makes it more likely for us to complete it. We're also familiar with the idea that interactive technologies and communication technologies can be mediums, whether through a kind of virtual world or an online community, can provide an experience in which perhaps there's a simulation that unfolds or you're communicating with other real people. But one of the things that's actually really exciting about how interactive technologies can persuade is that people respond socially directly to interactive technologies. And so interactive technologies can function as social actors as well, flattering people, praising them when they do well, really coaching them through behavior as a kind of personal coach. And I think this is especially true in the case of mobile devices. I'm sure you all know many reasons why mobile phones are an appealing channel for reaching the audiences that you're concerned with, just that they're always with you, et cetera. So I think that mobile phones are really an exciting direction in how interactive technologies can persuade. And I just want to talk a little bit about how that can happen. But though I'm sort of on the research side, so often we look out pretty far ahead into new technologies that are coming down the pipeline, I think really we have to be realistic and say that at this point, for a lot of the work that you're doing, messaging and voice remain the practical mobile options for your audiences. And so what I'm going to do is try to look at messaging and voice just briefly from the perspective of having looked at some more advanced technologies that are really already deployed or coming down the pipeline. So just to give you a little bit of background, I think that you may already be familiar with, really the study of persuasion treats messages as kind of the atoms of its science. And I think this is really interesting and an appealing perspective when thinking about mobile messaging. When you receive a text message, you have really 160 characters that someone is going to consume, and that's all they've got. So it really can tune you into that 160 characters. This is our message. We've got to put it all in here and fine-tune the pieces of that message. So it can be really appealing, I think, and of this science. I think it also is important to consider really the broader perspective and the fact that these messages, because they're so short, really are dependent on the underlying context and the relationship that allows those messages to be communicated. So just a few examples of how really this has been illustrated actually through some work with a little bit more advanced technology. So one of the things that's really exciting about text messages when you're sharing them with friends, sending them to a friend, is that there can be so much common ground behind your communication that you can say a lot in a really small amount. And that's an exciting thing to be able to do as a marketer, but it's often really challenging. One example of just how much can be shared and how little is a lot of researchers have been looking at location sharing, and I'm sure you may all be familiar with things like Google Latitude or Looped, pointing out your exact location on the map. But one of the things that researchers have done, starting a few years ago, was really look at just sharing simple movement information with your friends, for example, so that Dean is moving and has been for the past 5 minutes. Doesn't mean anything to most people, but if we're connected already and share a lot of common ground, that means a lot. So I think really in thinking about mobile, because it's so tied into our daily patterns of experience and practice, that there's a lot of opportunities for drawing on the kind of common ground that peers can build up, and that hopefully you can also build with youth as you reach out. I think also another thing to emphasize that really great marketers are already aware of, which is that these messages should be part of an ongoing service, an ongoing promise to the people that you're reaching, so that often, even in that context, the absence of a message can have significance. So there's a great example of a service in which people were being alerted when gas prices were about to change via text message. They signed up for this service. So what that means is that you're promising your end users that when they don't receive a message, gas prices are not changing at your station. And I think that's a really powerful thing, when even not sending a message is something that communicates a lot. So you're not restricted to 160 characters. If not sending the message, everything outside of the 160 characters can be part of your ongoing communication and relationship with your end users. I think also another thing to really emphasize, and this can be something that can come apart a little bit between research and practice, is that the identity of the sender matters a lot, and in some unfamiliar ways, especially around whether somebody believes that they're communicating with a computer, a human, or even kind of more interestingly, a persona that's neither really, that it's kind of that may have an on-screen presence, like the Verizon guy, but isn't actually a real person that you believe you're communicating with, but can be the locus of your thoughts as that relationship is ongoing through text messages. So some of the influence strategies that we've demonstrated by using, for example, flattery to increase self-disclosure in text messages. If you add a bit of flattery to a text message, that's what this 2009 study is, can actually increase people's self-disclosure responses in intimate questions. But that only works if they believe that it's a human or a persona that they're communicating with as opposed to a computer. So some of these issues can come apart between research and practice, and I think that's something that's good to emphasize. Finally, one of the things that's really exciting about mobile is that you can receive the messages anywhere, but that also often means that when you're communicating with someone who you're trying to provide information to, or trying to make an intervention, you don't know where they are and exactly what they're doing, and they may actually have that relationship with you transpire over a lot of different places. And this actually matters for the relationship in some clear ways. If a communication takes place across different locations as opposed to in the same location, that'll actually reduce overall the self-disclosure that people will make to the service, but can increase some other things like creative thinking, willingness to try new things. So that's something to think about when you're perhaps pacing a communication between a user and your service. Is, are they moving across different locations, and is that good or bad for the particular kind of interaction that we're having right now? So I think that's it. I just want to emphasize that a lot of other people involved in some of this work, and some of it was supported by the NSF. Thanks.